What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics. NBA season has arrived. 2 games played last night. They haven't actually happened yet. I'm recording this prior to those games starting. But I wanted to get this out there on the day of the main NBA season arriving. So, I'm going to go through some, I don't know if they're hot takes. I don't know if they're really that hot. We'll see. Just some general market takes. Very macro level of some thoughts on the upcoming NBA season. I got a few quick things that I want to run down. I'll probably toss out a couple random predictions, sure to go wrong. And then I also solicited questions. I posted on Twitter. I got a couple questions there. And then I posted on the YouTube community tab and got a few questions there of just asked what questions people had about, macro level stuff about this upcoming NBA season. So I will run through those as well at the back half of this video. So that'll be the back half. This will be the front half. Like, comment, subscribe, market movers links. You guys and girls know the drill by now. Let's go ahead and dive in. I guess I'll do some just general NBA thoughts first. It feels like this season kind of snuck up on everybody kind of out of nowhere. I don't know if it's just the football stuff or what. Or just people not used to the season starting this time of year because of all the weird shenanigans the last few years. But it's here. I'll be very curious to see even, you guys and girls will know this already. Hasn't happened yet in my timeline. If, Jordan Poole goes off tonight or last night for you people, is his card stuff going to jump another level? Are we going to see that reactionary market on the hobby darlings like that? And then really, especially going into tonight's games. Tonight, Wednesday night, is the first full slate of the year. I think there's 11 games or something crazy. There's going to be some quick changes out of the gates. Guys that no one was thinking about are going to put up some big numbers. People that haven't had big run-ups yet are going to see bumps that come out of the gate strong. And just generally speaking from the NBA perspective, all right, let's leave with this. I think I'll just go straight from the top. We'll go NBA Eastern Western Conference champions. In the East, it's easy just to say the Nets. I am not going to say the Nets, though they're probably the Kyrie situation. They're still the best team in the East, but the Kyrie situation just makes them slightly more vulnerable. I'm going to go with the Bucks to come out of the East again for a second time over the Nets. That might be, I don't know if that's hot takey or not. Those are the 2 best teams in the East. Prior to Kyrie, I would have put the Nets 95% of the time in the finals. The West, to me, is the one that's really tricky. The Lakers are kind of getting crowned from the West. I don't know if they're healthy. I think that's the case. The question is can they stay healthy? And I don't like betting on health, whether it's LeBron's, AD's, Westbrook's, whoever's. So I have concerns about them coming out of the West. The West is so wide open. The Jazz are going to be really good again, but no one's going to pick them because they've yet to prove that they can actually get out. If Jamal Murray can come back and get right before the playoffs start, I think the Nuggets are a real possibility. But it's super dependent on the Jamal Murray situation. But I'm going to go a little dark horse. I'm going to go with the Nuggets out of the West, assuming Jamal Murray health. So those are quick little title predictions. I didn't want to get too much into just general NBA nonsense, but I figured I'd at least get that out of the way. Let's talk some card and market predictions. I have a couple things that I want to run through, and then I'll dive into these questions that I got from the followers. First off, I made this one last year. It technically came true, but was very short-lived. Last year, prior to the season starting, I predicted that Ja's prices would eclipse Zion's prices. You can see on the chart here, I was technically right. It happened. There was one sale of his Ja Silver Prism. The little purple line went right above the blue line for a hot minute, and then that very next day, he turned his ankle and his prices market fell apart. Whoops. I don't know if it's hot to do it 2 years in a row, but I'm going to say the same thing again. I think Ja's prices, I guess we'll specifically call out his Silver Prism PSA 10. Ja's Silver Prism PSA 10 will surpass Zion's Silver Prism PSA 10 this season. Whether that's Zion going down and Ja staying flat, or Zion staying flat and Ja going up, I think it's a little bit more of Zion's going to continue to creep down. I think Ja's going to start the season strong and could see a price bump like we saw last year out of him. Ja has got to run up in prices to the start of the season, but not a ton. Not a ton at all. You can see that the growth here over the last few months, this is going out a year, this chart. Very slow incline into the start of the season, whereas last year we saw a lot more jumps up. You could see back in, let's see, October 20th, it was $2K for his Silver Prism. We get to around the start of the season, around 12-13, it was $3,200, so it had already gone up $1,200. This year, if we go back to like August here, $1,275 to the last sale was, I think, 1,700-ish is what it was at. 1,600, 1,700, 1,600, 1,700. So nowhere near as much of a run up, but I think that's also indicative the market is in a different place right now. Another prediction that I will say, I don't think we see Zion before Thanksgiving on the NBA court. I know he just kind of got cleared to start working out yet, but that whole situation still seems exceptionally nebulous. And I think they're going to treat him with kid gloves in regards to getting him back on the court. So my prediction is we do not see him before Thanksgiving. And then I think he has a very slow start to the season. He'll show flashes, but I think he starts slow just because he's going to be out of shape and just not ready to rock and roll. In my opinion, maybe I will be wrong. We will see. So I was actually planning on talking about this next thing already, but I also got a question in regards to this as well. This came in on Twitter from Redhead Cards. What will be the future of graded base? And I actually already had this pre-pulled up as a topic that I wanted to discuss. Since the summer, there's definitely been a trend in silvers and base separating themselves even wider apart than what they used to be. My prediction is, and I feel very safe walking out on this limb, that trend continues. I just pulled this as one example to look at. This is Trae Young's PSA 10 Prism Base versus his Prism Silver. Now, this isn't the typical graph that I have pulled up. This is the price change percentage. So it's actually charting how much percentage-wise the card has changed. So the purple line, this is the start even point of 0%. This is his base card. Basically, I mean, you could see the 0% line. It goes a little bit above it, comes back down, goes below it, comes back up again. And currently, it's actually down a little bit. 234 for his PSA 10 base Prism. When I started this, it was 261. And this is going back to mid-July. That's about when Trae's market bottomed out. I picked the point where his market basically bottomed out in the summer to have fair comparison. The silver, on the other hand, look at the difference. Look at how wide these two things on a price change percentage were even, not price even, but the from the change percentage at 0%. Look at how much difference that the silver has gone up versus the base. The silver at its low point in the summer was $1,100. Last sale is currently at $1,650. It's up almost 50%. Whereas the base is actually down 10%. So that's almost a 60% widening of the gap between those two. Now, are all the other ones this extreme? Not quite, but they all follow most follow the similar pattern. If I looked at Luka, you'd kind of see the same thing. If I looked at Zion, you'd see the same thing. Any of those guys, if you look at their base versus their silver, whether it's Prism or Optic Hollows, whatever. And I think this gap continues to widen. I think the base card market is going to continue to be soft. I could actually see stuff dipping a little bit once the season starts as well. We talk about this all the time. A lot of stuff gets baked into these prices. All of a sudden, they don't meet these absolutely astronomical expectations that the market puts on them. prices begin to fall. And my guess is base card prices fall harder. One, there's just way more of them out there. Two, we are in a more mature hobby now than what we were a year ago, 6 months ago, 18 months ago. People are a lot smarter, and people are actively, they have been for the last year, really, trying to upgrade their collections / cards by moving out of their base stuff and into silver and hollows. More and more people are going to continue to do that, whether it's 10s, 9s, whatever. More and more people are going to be moving away from base and pushing base down. There is still a place for base cards, especially the older stuff. You have to be selective when you're talking about, base is dead. What era of cards are you talking about? 2018 and newer? Yes, in most sets, you probably don't want base anymore if you're established. If you're just starting out, that's the price point of the stuff that you got to start out at. It is what it is. You just got to be careful. If it's 2017 and older, base becomes a little bit more in play. If you look at Tatum base rookies, there's only a couple thousand of them. That's a lot different than 20,000 Luka base prisms or Zion base prisms or whatever. But generally, I do believe the gap continues to widen between colored parallels and base cards. And the base card market will stay flat and probably continue to trend down, especially on 18 and newer stuff. I'll save this for I was going to take that a place, but we'll wait because there's a question that kind of pertains to it. So I hope that answered your question, Redhead Cards, and also I wanted to talk about that as well. So that's another prediction, is that the base and silver market will continue to separate from each other, and that gap will continue to widen. Next one. I'm biased on this one. Shocking, I know, anyone that's watched the channel for a while. I think this is going to be the year of Optic Hollows. Specifically 2018. Maybe not so much 2019, but specifically 2018. I think this is the year that Optic Hollows, specifically of Luka and Trey, pass silver prisms in regards to which one goes for the most. Trey only lags behind by a couple $100. The key thing here, though, is Trey hasn't sold in forever. This last sale of a Trey Silver 10 is from 10/17. Last Optic Hollow 10 was on September 12th, so it's over a month ago since a Trey Optic Hollow has sold. Luka, one just sold yesterday for 5,300. 3 actually sold in the last couple days. Every one of them jumped the next one by a couple $100. I think the first one went for like 47.50. The next one went for like 49. The next one went for a little over 5, and then the last one sold for 5.3 or something like that. Or maybe there's only 3 of them. I don't remember. Like 47.5 and 5.3. Each one jumped each other. And actually, a silver just recently sold. I think that's a new high for a while at 6.2K. His base, once again, has stayed perfectly flat, kind of going back to what we were talking about on the last slide. Why do I think this? I think people are going to come around on this like they did Select last year. Remember last year, Select got pumped to the moon before Panini ruined it, and their prices were really soaring and beginning to run down Prism in a lot of cases. Then Panini decided to take a poop in a bag and hand it out as a Halloween treat for Select last year by just decimating it with their retail release. And then the narrative quickly changed on Select, and no one wanted it anymore, even though the older Select is still low pop count. It is what it is. But I could see Optic going the similar trend. A big reason why is I just frankly think it's a better looking card, and this is personal bias coming in for sure here. 2, the population counts, and once again, I am the preacher of just because it's low pop doesn't mean it deserves a high price. But the population counts on these are astronomically low. And it's still in that hollow / silver range, rated rookie logo, all that good stuff. I just think Optic is getting more and more buzzy. I'm hearing more about it at shows. A lot of it is probably because I carry a lot of Optic color in my case, but I just get more and more I'm interacting with more and more people that are going like, wow, I really like all that Optic color you have. I'm getting on that bandwagon too. I'm just hearing that more and more. People that don't even necessarily watch my channel, just, you're interacting with people at trade nights, whatever. I feel like I'm hearing more and more buzz about Optic color in general because people are still coming around on the pop count thing. You look at trays and a PSA 10, there's only 160 of them. That is not that many. at all. Luka's is 281 compared to 2K on his Silver Prism. If you're really into one of these players long term, to me, those are cards that are going to have a lot of value long term because of it. It's a best of both worlds. You're getting an even substantial lower pop than the silver, but it's as respected as a silver. It's a silver's sister, with the chance to maybe jump past it. And like I said, I think Optic Holo and Optic Color in general continues to gain more respect as the season goes on, specifically in the basketball card market. So we will see where things go from here, but these gaps continue to widen. In fact, you can even see it here. I went back to, once again, I went back to July 15th, kind of the bottom market for these two guys. Now, Trey's hasn't had a sale for a while, so we can't put a lot of stock in this up 23%, but Luka's we can. Luka's Optic Holo since the summer dip is up 50%. His silver is only up 35%. So the Optic Holo is gaining ground. Trey's base silver is up 50%. His Optic Holo is only up 23%. Now, once again, caveat here, because one has not sold since September 12th, so we don't really know what a current comp would be on this. I haven't looked to see what the cheapest one available is. But I also wonder if this is one of those cards that's a little bit trickier grade than others. Because though Luka is submitted a little bit more, it's not crazily more than Trey. But we see a big discrepancy here on the PSA 10s. There's 281 Lukas and only 160 Treys. So I'd be very curious to see what the next one of these goes for. In my opinion, it should be a lot closer to this number given what Optic Holos have been doing in general, and also the fact of the pop count disparity here, with this being even more shorter print than, not shorter print, but maybe a tougher grade than the Luka. So we will see where that one runs off to. Next up, Embiid and Joker. I think we have a repeat of what happened last year. Once again, I'm going back to the beginning of summer, middle of summer, around 4th of July, mid-July. That's basically when the NBA market bottomed. Their prices are dead flat. 0% change for Embiid, 8% up for the Joker. This is the exact same thing that happened last season. We got in the season, they played insane MVP-level basketball, and their card prices spiked. I think we see a very similar thing. I have full faith. If Embiid stays healthy and Joker stays healthy, they're going to put up monster numbers. And these prices are probably going to correct. Embiid's Silver Prism sitting at $400 seems insane to me. Oh yeah, I know we're talking about evil base cards, but his base Prism is only popped 1,200. That's not that many. Joker's is only 685. You got to remember, when you get back into this older Prism stuff, way less of it. Way less of it. If I was last minute buying stuff for the season, these are intriguing buys if you could get it at those current comps, or maybe even a little bit under those current comps if you're lucky. But these two were the poster child last year for, we did not get run-ups in the preseason. We played well. Our prices shot up. I can easily see that happening again. Before we get on to this last one, we're going to transition over in the questions here in a minute. Just kind of quickly, once again, broadly based speaking, what do I see happening in regards to once the season starts? Are we going to see dips on players that are playing pretty okay like we did in football? I think, long story short, without getting into a ton of specifics, because it's hard, because once the season starts, who the hell knows what's going to happen. Broadly speaking, yeah, probably, because I think that's just kind of the nature of the market these days. There's some sort of run up prior to the season starting, 20 to 40% increase depending on the card. Silvers and holos getting juiced more than base. Base has been flat. We're going to go into the season. There's probably going to be another little mini spike at the beginning of the season. Oh my God, NBA is back. Luka just dropped a triple-double. Look what KD's doing. Look what LeBron's doing. Look what Curry's doing. Look what this guy that we never heard of is doing. And there'll be little bumps in prices like the first couple weeks, like we kind of saw in the NFL. The season's going to set itself in, and then prices are probably going to start to pull back on guys. Even guys that are playing pretty well. Guys that exceeded expectations, Embiid, Joker, whoever, their prices may continue to escalate and go up. But in general, we're going to hit early season malaise. Probably, I don't know if it'll happen as soon as Thanksgiving or Christmas. If not, it'll happen after Christmas. There's the excitement here at the end of October. We'll move into November. There'll probably be a lull. There might be a little bump with Christmas. People get hyped up for Christmas Day. And then there'll be a little bit of a lull again. And then we'll be at the NBA trade deadline. I don't remember when it is this year. It's usually around Valentine's Day. And then we'll be off and running into the end of the season. So I do think we see like a little mid-season dip. There'll be some spikes around trade deadline speculation and all that. And then it's going to kind of be the market feeling itself out for who looks like they're front runners for MVPs, who's look like they're setting up for long playoff runs. And then the performance will dictate when we get into the playoffs. The teams that continue to move on will continue to see price spikes up. Moving over to some questions here because we have some that kind of align to this. Let me find one here. Will we see a Mahomes-like correction on some players like KD, LeBron if the team struggles or their production diminishes? That's from Curtis on YouTube. I kind of just answered that, Curtis. Yes, I feel like we absolutely will. We saw it last year in the NBA. We've seen it the last 2 years in football. And we've even seen it in baseball. Guys that even if they start extremely hot, will see a run-up. And then their prices will pull back. Question from Miranda, Luigo Miranda. Is it time to sell Luka, Tatum, Trey, MPJ, or hold? Here's my general statement with should I buy or should I sell? Especially should I sell? Everyone's situation is different. You need to evaluate this on your own. You need to look at what you're into the card for. And this could go broadly speaking for any of you all out there holding inventory before the NBA season started. I'm working through this same process right now. What am I into these cards for? Am I okay holding them? What's the volatility factor of the player that I'm invested in? What would happen to me if it crashed back down again? Is there something safer I can move this stuff into that I can hold for the long term? Do I just want to take the cash and then go use it to buy a Mahomes dip or a Tatis dip or a whatever? But that's something you need to decide because everyone's situation is completely different. I don't know your financials. I don't know your inventory. I don't know what your goals are. You need to sit down, assess all that stuff, and figure out what is the right mix for you. Generally speaking, broadly based, if you have multiples of this stuff and you can make a nice profit or even like a 30% profit, whatever, go ahead, move off some of the stuff, and then free roll a few of the cards in the season. As of right now, just for some personal reflection, I am looking to hold my Luka Optic Hollows into season, I think. Maybe I would move off one of them. As dumb as this sounds, I don't know that I want to sell it. I almost want to use it more as trade bait for something bigger. I'm going to reassess. I'm going to ride it into the season for a couple weeks and see what happens. My target date would be the Ship Shawana show. I'm also kind of in a holding pattern because I know I'm attending that. It's a relatively bigger show. 160 tables, trade night the night before. And it's the first weekend in November. So I know I have that very quickly coming up. And I don't think the NBA market, if it's going to fall apart, isn't going to fall apart that quickly. Unless someone gets hurt or whatever. That's a different story. I can't control that. But you've also just recently seen me move off of, I had a lot of Luka base cards. I moved off of that. Just because I'm holding the Luka Optic Hollows, because I have those, it freed me up to move off that base, and I put it into that LeBron Refractor. The LeBron Refractor, I am willing to ride the waves with that. If that thing dips down, I don't care because I can hold that card for 5 or 10 years and not worry about what it's going to do. Base Ja Morant's, base Luka's, that stuff's going to go up, down, all around, and probably slide downwards faster because it's base cards. Moving out of that and putting it into the LeBron I know I can hold long term. That other stuff, I don't know if I can hold long term. So if you have opportunities like that to slide inventory around, move it into some safer things, because we talk about it all the time. I guess we don't talk about it all the time. Maybe we should. Like, let's be honest here. If you flip through your case right now, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but in general, probably roughly 90% of the cards in there 5 years from now aren't going to be worth what they're worth today. Most of them are going to go down and probably go down a lot. Unless you're just all loaded up on GOATs vintage or, established players, then that's a different story. But if you're flipping ultra modern, 90% of your case is probably going to be worthless in 5 years. That's why we always talk about moving in and out of this stuff. Game of hot potato, etc. So, Let's knock this one out because I have the chart up on the screen. How will the market react to those that did not take COVID vaccine, like Kyrie Irving's and others? Will they miss away games and maybe home games? We've already kind of seen how the market reacted to Kyrie. This is over the last 30 days, and he's basically not going to play the season. He's down 16% from 600 to 500 already. I would assume this continues to trend down and then flattens out with little pings of hope that will spike it back up again. This is his base Prism. In a PSA 10, it's pop 830. That's not that high. It's 2012 Prism. So it's going to have a little bit of a higher floor than most stuff because people do like the whole first year Prism thing. Generally, I don't agree with them, but on Prism, I'll let it slide. But I'm not going to go crazy and go chasing first year Optic and first year Revolution and first year this, first year that. The other guys, the only other really big name is Bradley Beal. And he's only really going to miss a couple games. It's no different than him missing a game because he turned an ankle or something. So I don't see it having a ton of negative hobby value other than Kyrie. Question from Jim. Curious, this is from YouTube. Curious what you think second year Prisms if you can't afford rookies of big name players. I think the second year stuff is a trap unless you're talking about like GOAT level players and older stuff. Like I just got the LeBron refractor. That was a second year. That's a lot different than talking about a second year Lucas Silver or a second year Trae Young Silver or upcoming Zion Silver or whatever. I would not chase that stuff. There are too many options in rookie year cards now for the second year stuff to hold value. The only thing that might would be like downtowns and kabooms, like case hits, autos, that sort of stuff. Super short print stuff, like if there's Genesis, if Mosaic comes out. And even that stuff I wouldn't go hog wild for. I would rather try to find something that's not a silver in a different set. Maybe you could go with like a select instead of a prism, or an optic hollow instead of a prism silver. Maybe you go with a PSA 9 instead of a PSA 10, or maybe you find a different parallel that's not as juicy as the silver. Maybe you go with a red, white, and blue, but has a little bit more stability to it than like a base card would, or a green or something like that. You know, do your research on it if you can't afford the silver. But I would go that route. I'm always going to almost always take a rookie year card over a second year silver 9 times out of 10. Just depends on what the card is. Can you make money flipping that stuff? I guess, sure. I just think it's a more volatile market. And there's, especially of the newer guys, there's just so much rookie product out there that it dilutes the second year product even harder. Peter asks, are there any standouts in this year's draft that you'll be specking on? Any forecasting on the young Rockets? In general, and I got a couple questions about this, so sorry about the other people that asked this, but in general, some takes on this upcoming rookie class. I think this rookie class is absolutely loaded. I love this year's rookie class. I think it crushes last year's class by a lot. Jalen Green, I think, is going to be your rookie of the year. He looks like a legit stud. I think Evan Mobley on the Cavs is not going to get hobby love because he's a big, but I think he's going to be a very, 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 very good NBA player. Hashtag biased. I think Jalen Suggs is going to have a pretty nice year. I worry a little bit. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be a very good NBA player, but I don't know if he's going to hold hobby value. He's the one that I worry about the most, even though he was the number 1 pick. Maybe I could be going to be completely wrong on this. But I would rather have Jalen Green stuff card-wise over Cade. Actual NBA games, different story maybe. But if you're just talking card prices, I think Jalen Green is going to be the one everyone's going to be chasing. Kid's a highlight reel. The Rockets are going to be super trendy because they got Jalen, they got KPJ, Sengun. NBA Twitter loves Sengun. And they're going to get all the minutes in the world to just do whatever they want. He's got the fun hair. It's the whole 9 yards with Jalen Green. I would take any of those. Jalen Green, to me, over anyone out of last year's class, not even close. From a fun factor, anyway. And then there's a lot of guys down the list. I think, I mentioned this before, I think Cam Thomas from the Nets is going to be a new hobby darling. He's probably going to get a lot of run because Kyrie Irving's not around. And the guy just scores. I think he's got a chance to be added to that list of Bulls and KPJs and those sorts of guys. The problem is, and this is, you know, I'll take a shot at Panini here. How do we not have any 21 product? You guys are still putting out stuff from LaMelo's class. You know, Give me some base Donruss or something. Like, let's go, guys. I don't even know when it's coming out. I haven't heard a word about it. I was asking around about it at the show the other day to the guys that work at 101, and they haven't heard anything either. Like, it's a joke. I was talking to Rated Rips. They're a big time breaker. Like, hey, have you guys heard anything on 21 product? And they're like, nope. Like, what are we doing here, Panini? Like, give me some Jalen Green cards. Give me some Evan Mobley stuff. In regards to buying the rookies, I am completely, I turned the corner last year. I didn't buy a single card of anyone from last year's class. Now, I will say, I am intrigued by Ant-Man. I gave him a lot of crap last year. I am actually semi-intrigued by Ant-Man this year. I think Anthony Edwards has a chance to kind of go up a level. Also a highlight reel, big-time scorer, and maybe started to show something defensively towards the end of last year. We will see. I'm intrigued by him. I personally like Ant-Man over LaMelo. I'm not a big LaMelo guy. I think he's a very good NBA player. I don't know that he's going to hold hobby value long-term. To me, his best case scenario is Jason Kidd. And what are Jason Kidd's cards worth these days? Now, he has some extra baggage attached, but in general, you kind of get the point there. But roughly speaking, I love this class a lot. I wouldn't buy any singles necessarily. Maybe I'll look for some Mobley stuff for like a semi-PC purpose. But these rookie prices start out so high off the get with some of these high-level players. I just don't think it's worth it to chase these guys. I would rather hang around and kind of see which pet projects kind of fall through the cracks. Like a last year, like a 19 class guy, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. His stuff was dirt cheap. You could have got it dirt cheap. I'd rather look for guys like that and spec on those than go buy Evan Mobley at the high or Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs or Scotty Barnes, whoever the lottery picks. I'll kind of wait to see how things shake out. That being said, I do think Jalen Green's going to juice the hobby a little bit. He's very exciting, in my opinion. Let's knock out. I think I got a couple more of these, and then we will wrap this puppy up because I am probably going long. Is Kevin Durant underpriced? Dream Team Forever asks, as he seems to be along with Trey. KD got a little bump back at the Olympic time and then really hasn't moved since. I think it's just going to depend on how he plays. I could see his stuff just kind of floating around as is, and then eventually getting a little bit of a pump from somewhere. The only issue with him, especially during the regular season, is if he gets dinged up at all, the Nets won't hesitate to sit him down and rest him up for the playoffs. So we'll take one more here from the old YouTube side of things. Would love to hear your thoughts on players on bad teams being better investments due to the play-in games. I'm not aboard with this theory. We actually had the play-in games last year. It didn't seem to change much. And remember, they're best of one. So it's not like just because they make the play-in, they're guaranteed to move on. We had it happen last year, where Steph made the play-in game and then got eliminated and didn't get to move into the actual playoffs. So I don't think that the play-in games being a thing drastically impacts hobby value down the stretch that much. Maybe it keeps teams from trying a little bit more. So maybe it keeps your guy on the court longer in meaningful games. I guess that could be a minor impact, but I don't see it being that big of a deal. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I don't remember having a big impact last year. So that's all I have for you guys and girls. Let me know if you have any hot takes down below. If you agree, don't agree, whatever. Leave it in the comments and enjoy the first full day of NBA games. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.